Good morning, Praetoria. Are we actually live, Ron? Just out of curiosity. All right. Okay. We were just missing a little transition. There's a little nervousness, but it was unnecessary. Things are okay. So I'm Agron. I'm the founder and CEO of Splinterlands. This here is Liberty Lass.
Hello.
She helps manage this business alongside of me, um, as she is the business manager. And we were talking about what are the things that we want to do in life. And we said, we should really go just do a show. And it's been on my brain for a while that I want to go like interview people in the community. I want to go interview people that are like part of the company. And, a lot of the things that we do are like more formal. And it's like, okay, we have to get official business out and things like that. But I just want to I want you guys to know who's here. And I want you to know like who works here, why they're doing it, what they're passionate about. And just hear a little bit of the actual people, not just the like employees. We're starting with some employees, but it's really about like who's part of this community, who's part of Praetoria, who's part of the Splinterlands, and let's go learn about them and see what makes them excited and see what makes it tick. So that's a quick introduction of why we're doing around Praetoria. You had some things that you like to start with, a little rhythm to the show.
I do. And I do just want to say before we jump into that, if you're interested in coming on one of these shows, reach out to me on Discord. That'd be great. Okay, so the first one is, how was your week this past week? But you have to answer with a color.
A color. Oh, last time it was a fruit, and I picked jackfruit because it was not fun. Yesterday was my birthday, so this body is a little bit older, and I don't know. I had a pleasant birthday. I got to share it with my kids for a bit. Got to spend some time with you, and that was pleasant and all. But it's been pretty hectic around here. So I would go with like a dark, stormy sky front, like black blue. I don't know. That's
navy.
Yeah, but not just navy. I'm like it's like a pattern, maybe more than a color, of like storm clouds. And I don't know. It's just been a long, rough week. But I think the worst is behind us. I don't know. I don't have like I don't have a measuring stick, or I don't have a crystal ball or something. But my gut instinct is that the worst is finally behind us as of September 11th. I don't believe that as some sort of ceremonial day. I just think, Bears tried to push Bryce down one more time and they couldn't really get it very far. That tells me, okay, the Bears are kind of out of ammo. So, I'm like living and dying by how how the markets are doing. And, that's not normally how we operate, but this has been, it's basically been a bear market for 2 years. And that's long and shitty. And so I have my dark, stormy skies, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks, it's gonna be better.
Speaking of, what color would you pick for the next week?
I'm hoping that it's like bright yellow. I've been telling, in particular, my board, hey guys, a big bull market's coming, a big bull market's coming, a big bull market's coming. And I've been saying that for 3 months. And, about September 14th, I turned around to one of my board members and said, it's here. It's finally freaking here. So, we're at the very beginning of it. So it's not, we've seen like a 10% pump or something, but it's not like we've seen it go completely parabolic and everything in the space is totally heated up. But that's where my brain tells me that we're going. Templeton coming in, BlackRock coming in, Fidelity coming in. They're already in. It's like the news is that the ETFs are coming in and there will be more money. But like Bitcoin owns 10 to 20% of the top miners in the world. So they're already here. They're already participating. Fidelity has apparently been mining for a long time. So it's been anxiety provoking. But I think the worst is behind us, and I'm hoping that next week is like a beautiful sunny sky. That's my hope.
Nice. Last week we drew out of a tall Dr. Blight, almost a Blinken style hat.
Yeah.
which I then put up on the shelf with the rest of the questions in it.
Yeah.
And then baby number 4,
Yeah.
we number our
Quattro.
babies. Baby number 4 is 4 years old, and he really, really wanted to use that hat. So this time we have
nice.
the German, I don't know, is there a name for these hats?
Like feathered cap or something?
Yeah, the kind of felt. So will you draw a question?
Yeah. And we're both going to answer this?
Sure.
What is your most prized possession? So
Oof.
I'm asking that to you first.
You know, I like stuff, but most of it, if it all went up in flame, it wouldn't matter. But pictures, I'm really sentimentally attached to. So that's probably it. All my pictures. How about you?
I don't know, man. My head's gone through a couple of these. One of them is my motorcycle. The ability to sort of escape out of anything, even if my car is busted or broken or some kind of problem, like the escape hatch that the motorcycle provides is like amazing. And I don't, I'm not like a super avid rider, and I'm certainly not like a motorcycle buff. I just like the freedom and utility of that. I'm currently wearing this little slinky, and Katie provides me with a bunch of these slinkies, and they like help me just deal with my normal levels of anxiety of just fidgeting and poking around with things during the day. So I like these little fidget toys. Is this your daughter's? Whose is this?
It's Jedi's, because he likes music.
All right, so
is that a hurdy-gurdy? Is that what that's called?
It might be, but this is a little music toy for Cinco.
This, I've seen you play with this. It's a little magnet toy.
Yeah. So to me, it's really like the fidgety things. And like you said, I could like burn down my entire house and like walk away and not be like, wow, I really missed those objects. Like, maybe my most prized possession is a computer that we're like filming this thing on.
You're pretty fond of this office.
Oh, my office is amazing. This is like the best.
Do you want to share why it matters what an office is like? Or what your experiences have been?
I spend 12 hours a day in this thing. It's like there's a lot of work to running this company and managing this ecosystem. And so having like a nice space to do that in is so critical. Like in the previous house, it was either in the attic or in the basement. And the basement was like just a cement floor. And I felt like I was gathering leprosy. When I'm in the attic, it was always never the right temperature, and it was always cramped, and that was crappy. And so this is the first time in years that I've had like this big open space, plenty of room to navigate in, and just I feel like a king when I walk in here. So it's on my list to like kind of tidy it up today, because the 5 kids will ruin that whenever they're here. But that's what's nice. You come in and it's like, I get to work here. That's how I feel when I start that part of my day here.
Nice. And by the way, the fidget toys, specifically the slinkies, Ag says I give him a bunch, and he doesn't mean I give him a pile of 8 slinkies. He means I give him one slinky, and he keeps it, and he tries to jealously guard it from the boys, who are 1 and 4 and want his slinky a lot, and will take it, and within 30 seconds will have mangled the thing beyond repair. And so he guards it jealously for as long as possible until one of them manages to take it and break it. And then the Katy fairy comes and leaves one from a secret stash that nobody knows where I keep it. So anyway, do we want to do another one?
Sure. Yeah. What do you pick?
Okay. What is one story you love to tell but rarely get the chance?
I'm like a competitive person, and I have a couple like high school athletic stories. So there's one where a competitor was talking trash most of the time. And then in a race going uphill, I start passing him. He I don't know exasperated moans. Oh shit! And then I like beat him after, it was like a competition for about a year between he and I in a couple different sports. So, but like that was my last battle with him, and that
That
felt
was your
great.
moment where you knew
Yeah.
you were going to succeed.
Yeah, well, I don't know in life or anything, but I just liked beating him. So I'm competitive, and that's like a fun little like, it's like track and field, so it's not highly combative or anything. It was a battle of wills, and the guy talked trash, and we found out that my will was superior to his.
I'm surprised you didn't share the wrestling one.
Is it the axe one or a different one? Yeah. So when I was a teenager, I lived in the basement of predominantly my mom's house, and there was a gas stove that was down there, and I heated it with wood, and I chopped that wood myself. And one time, I'm holding a piece of wood in my left hand, and I chop it with an axe, but it was like really hard wood, or maybe it was even frozen, and it hit the wood, it bounced off, and it hit my hand. And I cut like maybe a good solid inch into my hand. There wasn't really any damage. I mean, like the skin was all torn. It was a giant laceration, but I didn't ruin any ligaments or anything. So um, the emergency room, and they stitch it up, and I'm like, I have a wrestling match, and the guy's like, you can't use your hand, and I'm like, all right, that's not a problem. So I go to the match, and I was captain of my team, and I shook their captain's hand, who was also the guy I was going to wrestle. And he said, "What happened to your hand?" I said, "I hit it with an axe. Are you ready to wrestle?" And he looked at me like I was a psycho, which was great because at the time I kind of was. And I thoroughly destroyed him using only one hand. So I like those like highly competitive, Aggie dominates somebody else kind of athletic stories. Those aren't, there are fewer of them in my 40s than there were in my like teens. But I don't know. Those are good fun. Nobody actually got hurt. I didn't like beat up kids or something dumb like that. But I like the competitive and like show of wills.
Nice.
And what about you? What's your
Um, so a defining moment for me was in my childhood. It was in elementary school, maybe fifth grade or a little younger. I went to a very small school, and so we had like the same small group of kids from first grade all the way up. And for some, kids can be really cruel, especially little girls, man. Or maybe it was just the girls I went to school with. There developed this habit of picking on this one girl, but in this girl way where they wouldn't say anything to her face. They would just talk about her behind her back. And I don't consider myself very brave. I'm not like a courageous person. It's difficult for me to stand up to people. And so, I sort of woke up and realized this is really kind of a terrible situation. I don't like this. But there's a big leap between that and doing anything about it. And I was young. So there was just this one day we were up in this play structure at recess, and everyone always just sits, all the girls just sat down except for this one girl who's off by herself, and the lead queen bee starts in on her stories, and I just stood up and I slid down the slide. I didn't say anything. Goodness, I didn't have that kind of bravery, but I just left and I went to go play with this lone girl who was a totally lovely girl. And I just never went back. And that sort of like, it took all my courage to be absolutely silent and just leave. But I always felt really proud of doing that.
Raha? That's a good one.
So we have a guest today.
Oh, we do.
We do. Today we're going to be joined by Clayboyne, and I hear that you are familiar with him.
Yeah. I've known Clay for a number of years. When I started in crypto, I started just by blogging and sort of putting up asinine posts and not really understanding things. And then one of the larger accounts kind of reblogged my post, and I got lots of exposure, actually made some money. And I realized like this person could do something that cost them nothing, helped me out a lot. And, actually earned me money by doing that. And my attitude about the whole like crypto blogging sphere flipped, and I said, wow, this is actually really empowering, and you can help people quite a bit. So I made it my mission to go help spread this technology and be way more supportive of the whole thing. And I created a project called the Minnow Support Project. And Clay was one of the people that joined and operated as a moderator and helped run this. We got it up to tens of thousands of people. It is less used these days. I sort of shifted my focus to the Splinterlands side of things, but um, we've worked together since 2016, 2017, and he's just a very thoughtful, very peaceful, very competent, very comforting human, and with a good head on his shoulders, and wants the best for other people. And so it's a pleasure to work with him at the Minnow Support Project, and it's a pleasure to work with him at Splinterlands. Does that feel like a good intro?
Yeah, that's great.
Let's go.
Ron, can we?
Yeah, let's bring on Clay. And it seems like your head is appropriately sized versus the rest of us. That's good. At one point, Ron had you massive in here. How are things, Clay?
Yeah, pretty good. Just kind of adjusting to a lot of, I guess, changes in my life, but in general, I would say everything's moving in the right direction, and yeah, I don't know. I guess I would say, I guess I'm arguably happier than I've ever been in my life. So, it's pretty cool just being to a place where like, contentment has like set in, and like, not having like, super stress all the time. It's just feels like life's heading in the right direction. I'm enjoying it.
That's great. You used to be in like Southeast United States, and now you've moved. Do you want to share anything about your travels and sort of where you've been and where you're going?
Yeah, so I don't know. I've never really felt like I like meshed very well with where I was from. I was born in Louisiana, uh, around a lot of Cajun people living in the swamp. A little bit of an exaggeration, but it's definitely a very specific type of culture down there. So kind of wanted to get out, see the world a little bit, and I went to Argentina last year, lived there for 3 months to kind of try it out. Honestly, really cool place, and it really kind of like opened my eyes to this whole idea that being from the U.S., I feel like we're on some level kind of like ingrained with the idea that most of the rest of the world is like somehow like lesser than, and like the
Mm.
idea of like third world countries and like all this stuff is just it just seems like we're given like a very U.S. centric view on a lot of these things, and I
I
would
mean, we
say
are the
Argentina.
greatest nation on the face of the earth, so that might play into it.
Yeah. Argentina was pretty cool. And like the funniest thing is, I get to Argentina and like I was there for a couple of weeks and I'm like, is this a communist country? Like I had to ask somebody and they were like, yeah. And I was like, wow. Because like, I had never even considered it before I got there.
Mm.
Um, I had some fun there. It was interesting, but I wanted to see Asia. So now I am living in Thailand and it's been really interesting.
So what kind of like living spot are you in? Are you in like an apartment, a house, or do you have like a whole plaza to yourself?
So I actually like I'm pretty minimalist. It's funny because like you were talking earlier about like like the house could burn down and like you're not gonna really miss it. So in 2016, like I would say not very long before I met you, we actually had like this huge catastrophic flood in Louisiana. Like they called it like a historical flood or something. Yeah, like everything went underwater. So I actually like kind of had that experience, and it's funny because I used to be such like a materialistic person where like I would like I had like a huge like retro video game collection and like comics, had like a whole room just full of books. And it's funny because like I remember the day it happened, like I had to somebody on a boat had to like come and get me and bring me
Mm.
to my parents' house because their
Right.
house didn't flood. Yeah, so I was over there and I was just like, it's crazy, but like I don't think I'm gonna miss any of that stuff. And it's just funny because like I had that feeling like almost immediate because like I wasn't stressing about the things. I was just happy I got my dog out, and I would say it definitely shifted the entire course of my life. Like now I don't own a lot of stuff. I'm in a pretty small condo, just yeah, I've got like my hot plate to cook on. I've got my computer set up. I got my bed, and I've got a lovely picture of the British flag for some reason. But that came with the condo.
Okay. You're not going full British on us? You're not going to start some
Ah,
like
no, governor.
mercantile system in Thailand?
Oh man, I don't know. They do like tea here, so maybe.
Halfway there.
So, anything else that you would add to sort of like my story of how we sort of got together? I mean, my version is we were doing. I was getting into crypto, founded MSP, and there was Clay. Is there more to that, or more that you want to share? Maybe from the opposite side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know how much we want to go into like what was around before we started that, but like I wasn't very impressed with like the types of communities and the types of people that were running them. I like distinctly remember like I would get involved with certain projects and like I always found out like at the end it's like it's usually just people like siphoning money to themselves.
Mm.
So like I was really like looking for something around the Steam blockchain to like give me some kind of like faith in it. And whenever you said you were going to start up this project, I was like, Ag seems like a cool guy. Let's give it a shot. And yeah, I mean, here we are, like, what, 6 years later. I've had the privilege of meeting Ag a couple of times in real life. You know, I remember, like, right whenever Splinterlands was like starting to kind of like kick off a little bit. What was that like? It was the year
2018.
yeah, I remember you going to Hive Fest, but like you had because like I think you were like waiting on a new baby to come, and you came to New Orleans because you could only stay for like a couple days, and then we also had to meet up in Florida. So like we kind of got to know each other before Splinterlands was really a thing. And man, I remember like the day you came and like you were talking about it because you used to do the Minnow Mayor town halls, and I was just like, oh man, this is awesome. Like it's like one of those things like I didn't even know I wanted because I was like I used to
Yeah,
love Magic the Gathering, I used to love Pokemon, and I was like, damn, like that's awesome.
yeah. Matt and I were so shocked that so many people were like as happy about it as they were. It's like we expected to sell like a dozen packs to some of our friends, and the first year we made $350,000, and we're like, holy crap! How the hell did this happen? But
Oh god.
it's just folks like Clay that played games like this in their youth and saw a blockchain version of it and thought, hey, that thing is pretty awesome.
So you were playing Splinterlands before you were a team member.
um,
Were you on the
yeah,
very
like
first town hall, the
dude,
Minimayor
I'm
town
pretty
hall, when we
sure.
announced it? Were you there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was like I remember buying packs on day one, and like they didn't have stats or anything. It was just like pictures of the cards. Like man, the website used to look like a garage door. I used to always laugh because like I always thought it looked like a garage door, like the old like alpha days. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's definitely like it's come a long way. But yeah, I was working. I was doing relay for deaf people whenever you started the company. So like I think I probably came on right whenever things were really starting to take off and like that big bull run was happening, and you were like, look, I need people that I know to come on and like help. And yeah, I was like, okay, I quit my job that day.
Yeah,
I was
when was
like,
that?
yeah,
How long have you been here?
That's 2021, right?
a little over 2 years, I think. I
Because I
actually
came
maybe
in
maybe two
July.
years.
And I think Clay was around that time.
Yeah, we did a lot of hiring right at July. Of like we were going from 10,000 active players to something like 50,000 or 500,000. We were like, holy! It was just parabolic, straight up. Um, so we were like,
It was
okay,
just
we're not going to do this on our own. We need people now.
So when you were hired, what was your title or what were your duties? What were you hired to do?
I believe whatever Ag messaged me, he asked if I would like to be the meme lord. But let's see. I don't
Did
know.
he
Like
do the
I'm
thing
one of
where he
those.
says, come onto the team because you're competent and we'll figure out what you do?
Something like that essentially. Which I mean, I would
Worked
say
out pretty
that's
well.
probably it's probably pretty accurate. Because I mean, like if I don't do a lot of like forward facing stuff. Ironically, like I do the social media, and I have been more active in Discord lately. But like a lot of the things I handle are like more administrative, more back end. Like I don't even know how much of them you want me to talk about, Ag, but like I do things that like essentially you need somebody that you I guess trust to handle your interest and not do bad things.
Yeah, I mean, so we have to go do a bunch of like crypto payments. Some of them are big, some of them are small. Matt typically handles the ones that are like 100,000 plus, but we're not gonna ask Matt to like sit there and do every single transaction that's like $100 to $1,000 or something. We need somebody that we can like. Here's a crypto wallet. We don't think you're going to steal from us. Please go help us make some of these smaller payments as it goes. Um, so yeah, I mean, Clay's been that was one of the first things of like when I brought people from that minnow support project in, it was like, trust is one of like the most important things you can have in the crypto industry. Um, so starting with people that I trusted and trying to build a team around them and with them, that was pretty important to me.
Yeah, I
I
remember
got
talking about Clay, you listening to you talk about Clay, and you're just like, no, we just got to have him.
Yeah, and he's been great. I mean, it's like, okay, well, we need to do some of these payments, and the person doing payments failed, so let's put Clay on it and just have Clay solve our problems. We have all these people on Facebook and Twitter that are messaging us, don't know what they're doing, and we need somebody to help them. So let's go send Clay at that. And it's been this like weird menagerie of things of, I need somebody that's competent and capable, has a good enough demeanor to like deal with people that are frustrated and potentially not sophisticated, and have somebody provide them with a good experience. And Clay has helped us out in lots of different ways at lots of different times to just sort of like um, keep the wheels on.
Clay, your voice is probably the most calming voice I have ever heard. Do you feel that way?
Sure.
He's
Yeah.
like the most like you should do audiobooks that like calm anxious people. Um I would go to sleep listening to Clay like tell me fun historical facts. So it's hard to imagine you losing your cool.
Or just have him read things from Alan Watts live time.
yeah. I don't honestly like I don't really get angry a lot anymore. I don't know, like my life is very different than what it used to be, right? Like I would say like I mean Ag's probably like got to know me like after I probably like evolved a little bit as a person, but yeah, like I used to be the once upon a time I was like the stereotypical toxic gamer, and
Mm.
I would say that was probably until I was about 30 years old. Like I mean I can literally remember playing Counter-Strike Go and just being a terrible, terrible person to people. And, went through things, lived a little bit, started to develop perspective, compassion, empathy. And, I just feel like I've kind of got to understand that other people are humans too. Stop seeing myself as something separate than the rest of existence and a part of it. And, I think it just gave me a lot of different perspective. And I try to always be mindful whenever I interact with other people that, I don't know what they're dealing with. And, not all of them are going to give me the benefit of the doubt, but, just do our best is all we can really do, right?
Yeah, there's the old like Greek version of this where like, the gods, almost like in the Matrix, the gods could go inhabit anybody. So, your Agent Smith kind of experience. It's like anybody that you meet could be one of the gods. Um, and so I do my best to go treat anybody that enters my sphere in this. Well, let's be kind. I don't need to like bend over backwards or do something that goes against my morals or goes something against my principle. But I'm going to do everything I can to try to welcome this person and with kindness and friendliness. I don't think that. I like that you embrace part of that too. Of let's treat these people that come to us well. I mean, that sounds really simple, but go look at most crypto projects where they're like complete cesspools of just massive toxicity. And, at times the Mavs might be described like that. But at high level, I think we have one of the best freaking communities you could possibly ask for.
I have a question.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Oh no, please respond to that.
I was gonna say, like that's one of the things. Like I personally just kind of I've said before, I do like a lot of random things in the company. So like one of the ones is, after we had like the downsizing like a year or so ago, we didn't really have anybody dealing with Discord very much. So like I tried to step in and kind of be more of a face in there, and yeah, it gets rough sometimes. Like there are days where like I'm just like, I have to go take a break, right? But I think a lot of times, like if you're willing to be there, just kind of like let people vent and have like a rational conversation, most of them come around. And I do feel like you said, like we have a really great community. I think passion is a good thing, even if sometimes it gets misplaced and comes out in the wrong ways. I think having a passionate community that shows up, that wants to be here and wants this thing to succeed is important. So sometimes I'd love for a better delivery, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I've tried to give as much wiggle room for that as possible. The people that are just like hate you and don't care anymore, they leave. The people that complain or like kvetch or have problems, or the people that are passionate about something and they're expressing them. They're not always adults or mature about it, but at least on my starting perspective is, if this person is in my Discord sharing their complaint, no matter what that complaint is, it's because they care, and I should try to treat it that way. Um, Sometimes people say they're angry because of you, Aggie, and like what I've done. How much of this do you think is like sometimes the player base is angry? Do you think that they are angry because asset prices are down and they're salty about that? Do you think it's because parts of products aren't working the way that they want? Do you think it is a personality conflict between me and that audience member? Like where do you put the onus on it? Or where do you, like, when you're seeing a lot of problems, do you think there's one big bucket, or what buckets do you see of player frustration?
To me, I would say there's no way to discount that we are heavily correlated with the crypto market, and I think sentiment with the crypto market very much ties into the game. That said, I think a lot of times people feel like we're not focusing on like player experience, like the actual game part of it. And I mean, like I get some of that frustration, but I also like they don't see the back end of things either, right? Like it's hard to like really like adequately express to people like just how much work goes into something like land 1.5, like just how many people are like tied up, like literally pushing this thing out. Like I
Physically
don't know how
tied
else to
up,
put. Like yes,
forced to code.
yeah, so Weird Beard is like in the basement right now. But, it's a lot, right? And I mean, like I see it from both sides, right? Like I see the team. I know when people are getting stressed out and like everybody's trying to make everything happen, and like I can see, like when players are getting, upset that like individual, like everybody has like their wish list items they want, and like a lot of them seem really simple, and a lot of them seem like we could probably knock out things here and there, and I do agree. I think like on some level we have to get better at that. But I also think that right now our biggest thing is like the land 1.5 commitment has to be met, and then we want to see that evolve. Right, that foundation has to be there to build the rest of land off of, and it's a lot. I think people are testing it right now. They're seeing that there's a lot of moving pieces. Like every one of those pages you go to, there are different numbers and calculations hooked up, and there's a lot of overlapping things, and having to think about the implications of everything, right? Like Roni's a prime example of this, right? And one of the reasons why we were kind of like conflicted, like, will Roni make 1.5, is in this instance, you have to consider something like, well, what happens if you unstake it on ETH? Like it's a whole different blockchain. So we have to also be running like constant checks. It's just like there are so many one-off considerations that you have to think about when you're building something to this scale. So I know from like the back end and from the team's perspective of why it's like so intricate in all hands, but I also know from like hanging out in the Discord and talking to people that they're like they don't see it, right? Because it's
Why
all
don't you just
happening in
do
the
it?
background. Right. So they're
Well,
they're thinking like you're not doing anything, but it's like, man, if you only knew how much is like actually going on.
And I think so, like if their concern is gameplay, that's fair because we have not focused on gameplay as much as I know some players would like us to. We've been like, hey, we got to fix the economic parts of our game first, and then we can get the gameplay. So with Land 1.5, Land 1.5 is really like a giant economic piece to me. And yes, there's playing parts, but it's also like the economic and creator engine that's part of this, or the crafting engine. So, that we're not going to 1.5 isn't the end. We're going to keep working on this, but right now, nearly the entire enhancement team is tied into getting this thing launched. And after we get it launched, it'll be one of the things that we're like constantly working on, but it's not going to be one of the things that like takes our entire team and we push every single other project out to get it done. And I think there's broad agreement within the leadership team that the sort of next highest objective once Land 1.5 is out is more gameplay options. So that's where I think that our team is. There's still stuff like individual staking on individual players. We want to see that. That's economic, and we'll work on it. But it's not going to be, hey, take the entire team and make this happen the way that Land was. And there's a variety of things that are coming. How we can change player agency in the game, what other game modes, are there recurring revenue models, are there cosmetics, are there like things that help you get more like absorbed into this game. Those are the things that I think will be taking priority over the next year or two, and then I can't see beyond that, but that's where I think we're headed for now.
Go ahead if you were gonna.
Yeah, what I would say is like, I obviously I can't get into specifics of things, but what I will say is, the way I see this game going over the next year is currently I look at it as two-dimensional, and I feel like we're basically moving into a third dimensional. And I don't mean that it's like a gameplay perspective, but I mean like we're expanding things into like an entirely different direction or dimension than what they are right now is probably the best way I can put it, right? Like I would say more dynamic, maybe like a greater. Whenever you start talking about things like adding player agency, right? Like clearly the gameplay itself is going to get more dynamic there. When we start thinking about things like land and how it's going to evolve, and the fact that so you may have heard I have like a few DAO proposals that I have cooking in my head. But when I think like whenever we have the deck liquidity pools live on land, things like getting rid of the deck incentives from like the actual DAO to close off some of those pools and make like SPS pools the priority. I've got a few ideas, but I can totally see the game getting much more dynamic as soon as this foundation gets finished. And that's kind of how I look at Land 1.5. Is it's like this foundation that we have to get right because so much that's coming is built off of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the adding other resources, adding other mechanisms, adding other components, you're like attaching to this. This is our base. This is our foundation. This is our core. And all the other game loops, all the other components, everything is going to be, added on to this core component. So yeah, we wanted to get it right. And I mean, if you're hanging out in Discord, what do you think the players are saying about Land these days? Do you feel like feedback is strong? Do you feel like it's weak? Like where are they overwhelmed, underwhelmed? What are you seeing?
I think we're getting a lot of good feedback. I'll say like the biggest point of contention right now seems to be the Tapos errors,
Yeah.
which it kind of is what it is on that. You just to run a full capacity server like the actual game lives on costs a lot of money, and just doing multiples of those is just not feasible. But yeah, I mean,
I mean, it is
so
on
we have a testing
production.
server.
So when this thing's on production, I really highly doubt that there's going to be
Right.
any Tapos errors. It's just really like a QA4 kind of thing or like a Mavs thing.
Right.
And yeah, that's
I would say
frustrating
that's
because
the biggest.
I don't get like special treatment when I'm in this thing. I'm seeing the same Tapos errors and I'm like throwing my screen across the room for like the fourth one. So I get it,
Yeah.
but hopefully players understand that's a minimum piece. Although I guess, they should be thinking about what is their game experience, what is their play experience, and hopefully we get this whole thing right, and that includes their user experience, which includes kind of like seamless crypto.
Yeah.
So Clay,
Yeah,
you've been here.
that's
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, that's one of the things. Like, if you think about what a Tepos error is, like, basically what you're getting is an indication that everything you're doing is literally a transaction on the blockchain. So, even though like our test servers aren't, like like NASA computers or something, right? Like they're pretty dumbed down compared to the production server. It's still like evidence of all these things. Every little moving part you're seeing is all basically blockchain based. So I think that's something we still do that I haven't seen another game do. Ag. Like I've seen a lot of games try to move off chain and try to like minimize what they do on chain, but so much of Splinterlands is all on chain, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, well, we try to make sure that anything that's financial is on chain. Some of the games aren't, but any of the rewards are gonna be, and like the staking and all the other components. We want to make sure that people can validate this and validate that like Uncle Aggie isn't just giving himself 10,000 grain today because I'm handsome. You gotta earn it the same way that everybody else does.
I know Katie had something she was going to say. I'm sorry, Katie.
Well, so you have such an interesting perspective because you've been here from the beginning, not the same as Aggie, but you've been, in fact, that might even give you a little more perspective. Um, and now you're really in the center of it. Where do you want to see Splinterlands go?
I mean, honestly, like what I really want to see is a lot more player agency, and ultimately, I would love to see like the actual Splinterlands game and economy start to scale up and become something more like it's fun. Like I tell people I used to play World of Warcraft, right? But like what I really did is like I went in to a server and I basically just took over their auction house. Like what I did is like I would start like basically taking items and kind of like getting a monopoly on them, and then I could start charging whatever I wanted. And then I'd take those profits and use them on other markets. And then whenever I start thinking about land 1.5 and us having like 20, 40, whatever resources, right? Like a lot of resources, I start thinking like, man, we're going to see some interesting economic gameplay because this is one of the things that like I try to like tell people, right, whenever they're like, oh, Splinterland sucks, I hate the game, and I'm like, you need to understand that there's a lot of like different facets and there's a lot of things that people find entertaining that may not directly just be playing like the kind of like auto battle or card game, right? Like there's like a whole like meta economic game going on, like with cards, with SPS, um, I think it's going to get a lot more interesting when 1.5 comes out. And what I really, really would like to see is more player agency. And I think that that's coming from, especially the things we've talked about, like spells, items, having like that other step to like actual, human kind of like interaction with how you want to counter your enemy's team. I think it's going to be a lot more interesting. Right? Like I'm pretty excited with where we're going.
It's on the way. That's a little alpha for the audience. It's a small audience. It's on the way. So it'll be here before you might have guessed.
Nice.
So, like I said, I've never. I was telling you this the other day. Like I'm not like the eternal optimist, and I'm definitely not the eternal bear. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. But this is probably the most excited I've been for Splinterlands and the general crypto space in a while. I feel like things are looking up all around. So we'll see how it goes.
What in particular is getting you? Like when you're sort of taking a macro view, you're taking in all the news, you're taking in all the signs and interacting with the community and hearing from people. Like what are you grasping onto to say, hey, I'm feeling bullish right now. This is what excites me.
So not I guess here's something not everybody knows. I've been in crypto since about 2013. So I've been through these crazy pumps. I think I was briefly a millionaire one day, but like I'm not like a very money focused person, so like it just like having like that crazy pump in 2017. I remember just looking, I'm like, I've never seen numbers that big, but then like it came back down there. But just like in general, I pay more attention to sentiment than I do like the actual charts. I don't try to read tea leaves. I try to read the mood, for lack of a better word. Um, and in general, like these cycles kind of always go through waves, right? Like crypto just goes through waves. There's always like the crazy build up. Like I can remember 2017 while it was all happening, and then 2018, like everybody just like losing hope on the way down. Like after going through that three or probably three times now, just seeing how these kind of like crazy bull runs then cool off periods happen. I've been thinking that we're kind of like bottomed out in an accumulation phase for most of the last year.
Mm.
And I remember whenever Bitcoin went over 20K, I was like, that's the last time Bitcoin will ever be under 20K. And like I've never been more sure of anything. Because like this is how Bitcoin like repeats. If you look back, the first time it kind of like pumped up to 21K or whatever, and then it went all the way back down. I was like, it's going to go under 10K for a little bit, but then once it goes back over 10K, like that's pretty much it. And it's pretty much played out like that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't try to like read tea leaves. I don't really try to play the market, but like in general, my job's kind of tied to market sentiment, so I'm aware of it. But to me, it just feels like it's usually whenever like everyone's like at their most despairing. Like when everybody's like losing hope, when it's always darkest before the dawn, I would say. And honestly, like I feel like we're past it. I feel like the last like month or so, maybe like the last 2 months, has kind of been moving in the right direction. And I think bloody September is coming to an end. So we'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So you have a hybrid job that's partially externally facing and a lot of it is internal. So if somebody, a community member, would reach out to you, when would that be appropriate? Is it ever appropriate?
Um, I mean, people do. Let's see. Well, I do have some public facing stuff, right? So not Splinterlands directly related, but I help with Hive Engine. I help with obviously I run the socials. I kind of hang out and help around in the Discord. I have helped discuss and kind of like build out some DAO proposals. So like if people need help with like DAO proposals, like I can help with that. If people have problems with Discord, I can help with that. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty much, I would say, private, like company facing stuff.
Clay, I'm going to let Ag finish up with you because baby just woke up from his nap. Thank you so much. It's been so great to talk with you.
You too.
All right. So I can move a little this way. I will be aggroed last. Let's see. So we're gonna wrap up in the next minute or two here, I think. But the high level, I agree with you that the sort of sentiment is shifting. The like, I'm amazed that it hasn't shifted more, frankly. Like seeing the sort of Templeton, I forget their full name, Templeton coming in and them submitting an ETF, and further watching. There's like a variety of these things that came in, and they're big financial institutions, and they're big financial institutions that want to participate. And here's Mr. Baby. Here, look, you're right there. Yeah. You gotta look at the screen, buddy, or gotta look at the camera.
Is
Yeah.
that
He's
Jedi?
pointing at Clay. He likes Clay.
That's Jedi.
That's Baby Jedi.
Yeah, man, he got a lot more hair than the last time I saw him.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
this kid is cruising everywhere.
You saw him at Splinterfest.
Yeah.
He was just
Yeah.
wee thing then.
Baby Ag. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, he's a good little dude. It's hard to concentrate when he's back. I guess I'm seeing that same sort of sentiment change, and I'm actually kind of surprised that it hasn't happened faster. That like big organizations are coming in. We're seeing banks saying that they're going to start custodying or being custodians of crypto, Bitcoin to start, but I think it'll reach out to all the other ones. Like I think we're seeing gigantic moves and gigantic narratives that are already forming the bedrock of the next sort of like wave of adoption, wave of institutional like custodialship, and just ways that if you're part of like the California teachers pension and you wanted to own Bitcoin, there really wasn't a good way to get that kind of exposure, and now it's going to be pretty simple.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
I, yeah.
go for it.
I think we've definitely had some interesting news. One of the things that like you said the other day, you were talking about like people like BlackRock and like all these like big money people coming in, and I was like, one thing that you got to consider, right? Like anybody that has trillions of dollars to put into crypto has at least millions, if not billions, to put into controlling the market narrative, right? So like these people control the media. Whenever you're seeing like, oh, CZ's getting investigated, or like Coinbase is gonna get sued by the SEC, like to me a lot of this stuff is just hit pieces to control the narrative and give them chances to buy in cheaper. That's my opinion, but
I've seen they're like 4chan posts of people that are like, I was employed to do what you were just describing. Here's how this system works. And they've been like Twitter threads and things like that that I've read through. And they talk about, we want prices to go up or down because we're going to take a position or dump a position. And so they'll control the narrative. And I definitely feel like a good chunk of that is been going on in the space for quite some time.
We have to close here in a minute.
Yeah.
I think it's fine that we all close together, especially since I did give Aggie some warning, but I didn't give Clay any warning. That I thought a great way to end would be a meme of the week. But since Clay's here, it's okay if you forgot. I didn't remind you.
No, I did not remember this at all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But this is our moment of then. I'm supposed to go find one of the most recent memes and sort of share that with the community. I do
And Clay,
remember this.
as the resident meme lord, I would invite you, if you feel so inspired, to share as well.
oh man, let's see. I've got so many memes. I share a lot of them in Map Chat on occasion. Let's see. So how like, I guess this one might be like a little spicy. Is that okay, Ag?
A little spicy is okay. We can't go full spice on this.
Okay, well, it's just like a little baby spice, but I think people might get a kick out of it. I don't know why my okay, for some reason it started like playing the show whenever I picked up.
Are you sharing this in town hall?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, there we go. I had to figuring out how to do all this on my phone. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm looking through my memes to try to see. Someone said emo girls were just gothic Karens, and now I can't look away. Huh.
Oh, while we give Agrod a moment to see if he can figure one out, and it's okay if you're saved by the Clay this time.
Buddy.
It's okay. I did want to ask the reason behind your name. What's Clayboy? What's up with that?
So whenever I was trying to make my username for AOL when I was like 5 years old, my name was taken. Apparently I'm not the only Clay in the universe, but this was one of the ones that got suggested, and lo and behold, here I am, like 30 something years later, and it stuck.
I shared a meme, which turns me into a frog. Now suffer. Me, chilling on a leaf. Which, wait, me, experiencing happiness for the first time in my life. Which, wait, no. It's just a little peaceful meme. I'm waiting for my bright sunny day for my beautiful week next week. I think it'll come together, and I will just be that peaceful little frog sitting on a leaf, a little pepper.
you have to have seen the meme, right? Where it's like the guy's like, "I'm relaxed, at peace, in my zone, moisturized," and it's like this guy just like chilling in a pond.
Yeah, a giant fat leprechaun. Yeah, yeah, I love it. Yeah,
That's my
I'm just
favorite one.
yeah, yeah, it's good times. All
Thank
right.
you so much for
Yeah,
coming
thanks.
on. This has been lovely.
Sorry that we got a little interrupted by Mr. Baby here, but
It's cool.
that's what happens in the household. But thanks everybody. Thanks for chiming in. I know that this is not the most serious business that we do in the Splinterlands, but it's important to me that you guys get a sense of who's here. Rivals or somebody else, if you guys want to cyberblock, Dave, if you guys want to come on, Matt Clark, if you guys want to come on air and come talk to us. I'd love to have community members and just get to learn who you guys are and share that with the rest of the community. And no scissors for baby.
Thank you, Ron, too.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Thanks for hosting. And I don't know. That's what I got for today. So thanks all. We'll see you around Praetoria next week.
Thanks, everybody.
When chaos reigns and hope is lost, when your darkest days aren't saved by the dawn, we bring the light to help guide the way. We are with you.